I noticed that Glenn Beck, while crying last night, scored top ratings. My hat's off to you, Glenn, crying about the First Amendment and having the golfer on with you. Good job. I got a kick out of it while enjoying a cocktail last night. Nice performance, Glenn. Crying about losing everything because of the First Amendment and how you prefer free speech with blowhard, Rushy the blowhard. The two of you discovered that there's a free speech issue. Really? Well, I, as the first victim of McCarthyism in America in this period, of course. Now, the liberals talk about McCarthyism as though it was horrible and real. Well, it wasn't actually horrible, but it was real. There was McCarthyism, but he actually did root out real communists who really were linked to the Soviet Union in the 1950s. But let's put aside the fact that to the left, McCarthyism is very real. But, of course, now that they're practicing McCarthyism here in the United States of America, it doesn't matter. Because what matters is who's pulling Charlie McCarthy's strings, not whether or not Charlie McCarthy is talking. But, Glenn, good job to you and Rush for talking about freedom of speech without talking about the number one freedom of speech issue in America today, which is Michael Savage having been banned in Britain. I got to hand it to you, Glenn. The ability to pull that off with crocodile tears, my hat's off to you, Glenn. Good entertainment. 1-800-449-8255. This is the Savage Nation. How do you feel about Glenn Beck and Rush Limbaugh going on television yesterday talking about how the Obama administration is out to get him and saying nothing about Michael Savage being banned in Britain? Does that bother you at all? Does it bother you at all to see the hypocrisy of the corporate talk show hosts Glenn Beck and Rush Limbaugh? Now, let me tell you something. There is a reason for all of this. I am syndicated by an independent syndicator who is not in any sense a major corporation. Maybe he will be one day. Maybe he knows them. But you see, Limbaugh and Beck are part of corporate talk. And whether you believe it or not, it doesn't really matter whether the corporate talk is left or right. There is a club. And corporate talk only talks about others within the corporate talk fraternity. And so although Michael Savage has been actually banned in Britain, although Michael Savage is actually the first victim of McCarthyism in this period, although Michael Savage is actually the first victim of such things, that didn't matter to Glenn Beck and Rush Limbaugh. What's important is what might happen to Glenn Beck and Rush Limbaugh, not what actually did happen to Michael Savage. And that's the beauty of it. The beauty is that they can get away with it because the people themselves don't even see the hypocrisy. And now you understand what corporate broadcasting is as opposed to independent broadcasting. How about Glenn Beck and Rush Limbaugh talking about freedom of speech being threatened by Obama and refusing to discuss Michael Savage twisting in the wind since May 5th being banned in Britain? Do you think that makes Rush Limbaugh and Glenn Beck hypocrites to any extent, or are they incapable of hypocrisy because they declare themselves not to be liberals? Is that possible, that they themselves declare themselves to be Ubermensch in some ways because they're not liberals, and in so doing they could actually think that you're stupid, and you don't see the glaring hypocrisy in them squeezing onions in handkerchiefs yesterday, talking about freedom of speech being threatened by Obama and his minions without not once mentioning true conservative, patriot Michael Savage? How is that possible? How did they get away with this? San Diego, Mike, you're on the Savage Nation. Go ahead, please.
Thanks, Mike. I think they get away with it because it's a script. They're reading from a script, and they have to educate the public on what they're told to educate us on, and I refuse to believe it. When a very popular radio host like yourself is banned from a foreign country, it is really, really a hypocritical thing to even avoid it, let alone talk around it. I stayed up to watch that show last night and ended up turning it off in disgust.
Well, I watched it. I was drinking. I took the afternoon off. I wasn't feeling well, but I had great entertainment watching the two circus clowns put on the act about the First Amendment. I truly enjoyed them talking about freedom of speech and saying, my goodness, there's something missing in this discussion.
Well,
there was sort of a pregnant emptiness in the whole discussion of freedom of speech being threatened. I said, goodness, they never heard of Michael Savage and banned in Britain? How's that possible?
I think it's possible because they have one agenda. They keep saying Democrats bad, Republicans good, and they don't see the trees in the forest.
Well, I don't know. We do our best to get out our message here on the Savage Nation. All I know is that millions of people who listen to this show understand that true McCarthyism exists. It has reared its head in this country. And the fact of the matter is there's collusion between the U.S. government in the Obama administration, or possibly even going back to the Bush administration, and the Labour government in England in having me targeted and put on a list with murderers and terrorists. You would think that a man so concerned with freedom of speech as the golfer would know that. After all, he knows everything. Thank you for the call.